Chapter 5. Meeting Friends. When Dam is changing the radio station multiple times inside the car, he looks at the radio time as he changes the radio station. The time reads 12:06 p.m. He is slightly late for work, but he knows that he'll manage before it's too late. Or why does he care anyway? Dam looks back at the time again, and immediately, the time changed back to 4 hours, and it is now 8:06 a.m. The display also immediately changed into a screen as well. A thumb swipes across the screen, form the time. It moves to the right side of the screen and swipes left. The screen goes straight to passcode as the thumb taps on the numbers and types 3825633. The home screen appears on the screen, and the thumb taps on the music icon on the bottom right of the screen. Tapping on artists, and after selecting one item, the thumb scrolls through the list of songs. It slides down to the P section and finds the song called Power by Sweet Spirit. Tapping on the song, the earphones come to life as the song starts blaring inside. It is the same song that Dam was listening to in the vehicle. Ann puts his cell phone in his jeans' right pocket and hums along with the tune with the earphones glued to his ears. He is almost out of the alley and looks out to see an old man on his far right. He was standing behind a selling stand, showing something in his right hand. Ann gets closer to the man as he looks up at Ann and smiles. The old man greets Ann as he's just at arm's length. "Hey Ann, it's me, Zone. How are you doing, my man?" Ann is standing at Zone's left side as his right hand reaches the old man for a handshake. Zone pats Ann on his shoulder. "Not too bad. How are you?" Ann responds with a subtle smile and inquires about his well-being. "Oh, you know me, man. Life's shit, but finding a woman's smelly clitoris is easy and fantastic." The old man responds with a playful smirk. Ann and Zone laughs out loud at that. Once done laughing, Ann excuses himself from and starts walking away into the street's sidewalk. As he was just making his way out, Zone calls out and says, "Hey, you want this? I'll give you a really good discount, too." Zone smiles as Ann turns around to look at him and what he was offering. He is holding an unknown object in his right hand. Ann waves his right hand back at Zone, dismissing his offer. "Nah, man, I'm good. Take care of yourself, okay?" Ann says as he starts turning around to walk away yet again. Zone waves back the object to Ann's back and asks, "Okay, my friend. Hey, you should give my daughter a call. Will you?" Ann walks on the sidewalk towards the street again after nodding his head at the old man. He looks relaxed and calm, and he can feel it within himself. Ann sees another man who looks much younger than him. Ann waves and smiles at the youngster as he waves back, while smiling at Ann. A middle-aged man turns his head up from where he is walking. Ann smiles and turns his head up too, at the man. A guy with sunglasses gives Ann a high five. Ann accepts and returns his gesture back. Another guy kisses Ann on his right cheek, and Ann says, "You're too kind, sir." A mother and her little girl stops and waves their right hands at Ann's face. The little girl greets Ann as she says, "Hello, Ann? How are you today?" Ann stops near them and kneels to get a closer look at the little girl. His hands are on both sides of his lap. He smiles at the little darling and responds, "Oh, I'm good, Daisy. Thanks for asking." Ann lightly ruffles the little girl's hair as she giggles at him. Daisy and her mother wave at Ann as they make their way towards where they were heading before, from where Ann was coming. Ann resumes his walk as well and looks ahead to see a crosswalk coming up. Ann stops and waits for the crosswalk lights to turn green as he looks at an old lady with a cane coming up towards him at his right. He notices the old lady as she struggles to hold onto her cane. "Do you need any help, ma'am?" Ann asks, being the gentleman that he is. The old lady looks at Ann's face with a smile and says, "Oh, thank you for asking, dear. But I'm good." Ann looks at her and drawls, "Oh, okay." Ann looks confused. The crosswalk lights come to life, indicating that it was time for them to cross the road as all the vehicles come to a sudden halt. Ann starts walking towards the other end of the road and looks up to see an attractive girl walking towards him. The girl doesn't notice him and walks past him as he resumes crossing the road, diverting his attention from the girl. When Anne turns his head to look at the girl, he sees her gazing at him from behind her thick lashes, making her eyes even more enchanting. The girl smiles at Anne as he turns his head and looks in front of him and smiles while shaking his head. The city's main street is full of people engaged in their everyday life. He looks at one side to see an old man preparing to open his shop on the sidewalk by the street. A man is playing fetch with his dog, and a father kneeling as he hugs his daughter as Anne looked at the sight with joy and longing. Anne looks at the other side to see a woman hailing a cab as the cab drives past her. There is another woman standing beside her and waiting as a black vehicle comes and stops in front of her suddenly. The woman gets inside the back seat and shuts the door before the vehicle drives past the sidewalk, now on the fast lane at the end of the road. The other woman waiting and hailing the cab looks annoyed at the black car fading at the far end of the street. Anne shakes his head and looks at the other side of the street. He looks at a cook serving breakfast to his customers at a street-side restaurant. A guy is standing, holding a wrapped present behind his back, as he prepares to surprise the girl standing in front of him, who looks the same age as the guy. The girl turns around and kisses the guy, while he's still holding the present behind his back, now balancing it in one hand, while the other hand is pressed against the girl's right cheek. A woman in a bicycle falls over to the right side, as another woman comes up to her to help. When the other woman helps the bicycle woman up, both of them smiled at each other. A man in his mid-20s is sitting on the ground with a sign that reads, "Help me, I'm homeless and hungry. Thank you, and God bless you." Two sick and shivering people are hanging around at a convenience store. Their backs are laying up against a brick walk next to the left side of the main entrance of the store. A store clerk comes out of the doors and threatens them to leave his store, but pointing his left index finger to the bottom left side. An old lady in beggar's clothes is searching for something useful inside a streetscape trash can. A guy who is talking nonsense walks past her on her left. A happy guy spins around in the middle of the street. Another guy is sleeping on the street bench. And for no reason, a dog who is beside the bench starts howling. Anne arrives at his destination after looking at all the commotion on the street around him. He notices two men who are waiting on the sidewalk. One of the men notices Anne. "It's the fucking man of the fucking hour. What the fuck kept you, motherfucker?" Lane says as he sees Anne approaching the group. "Anne!" Guano says as soon as he looks at him. Anne goes up to them and shakes Lane's right hand. When he's done shaking, he pats Guano on his right shoulder and smiles at his friends and says, "Sorry I'm late. I got caught up on something at home." "Fuck, man." "What the fuck happened, man?" Lane asks out of concern. "Nothing. Just some threats from our acquaintance, that's all. But that's all going to be over in less than an hour," Anne tells them reassuringly. At his response, Lane and Guano look excited as Lane says, barely being able to contain his excitement, "Fuck, man! I don't know what the fuck to do with my—" Anne shushes him before he can complete his sentence and says in a low voice, "Don't shout about it." "What? You think people can't hear you talking?" "What do I fucking think? I fucking tell them, fuck you!" Lane says in a high-pitched voice. Lane is soon followed by Guano as he shouts, "Yeah!" Anne looks at them both, clearly frustrated, as he says in a stern voice, "Calm down, you both." Lane and Guano look calmer than earlier as Anne asks, emphasizing certain words, "Are you both calm? Like really calm?" Lane responds, "Yeah, I am fucking calm." Anne nods while turning his attention towards Guano and asks, "Okay, Guano, what about you? Are you calm?" Guano doesn't say a word. He just nods his head as a response to Anne's question. Anne looks at him, satisfied, and says, "All right, let's do this." Anne starts walking with Lane and Guano tailing behind him. Anne suddenly asks, "So both of you know what to do, right?" Lane and Guano respond in unison, "Yep." "So I don't have to tell you both what to do again, right?" Anne asks once again, just to be sure. Lane and Guano respond in unison, yet again, saying, "No!" Anne asks yet another time, "Are you both sure? Because if you want, I can tell you what's the plan again." Lane and Guano seem irritated now, as they respond, "Yes, we're good." "Are you both sure you guys know what to do? Are you really, really sure?" Anne asks again, hiking their irritation even more. Lane and Guano seem extremely annoyed now, yet they manage to shout another response, "Yes!" Anne starts asking again, "Are you really, really, really?" He is cut short by Lane as he shouts, "God fucking damn it, Anne! Guano and I got this bitch. Fucked!" A woman is walking towards them. She glares at Lane as she hears his words. Lane rolls his eyes at the woman and diverts his attention back at Anne. "Well, all right then. Just tell a little thing about the plan then," Anne asks. The woman walks, crossing their sides. Lane slowly looks at the woman when she walked past him. Lane looks at her and says, "Damn! Lane!" Anne reprimands him. "Fuck, what?" Lane asks Anne, looking frustrated at the interruption. "Stop being distracted. Think," Anne tells him. "It's not my fucking fault. That stupid fucking bitch was in my fucking way. You y'all see it? Fucking bitch. Fuck you!" Lane shouts at the woman who has just crossed their side. Anne decides to ignore him and looks at Guano and asks, "Okay, what about you, Guano? Can you tell me something about this plan?" Guano looks down at the ground while Anne is talking and walking towards him. As Anne stands near Guano, he looks up, confused. "Huh? What?" Guano looks at Anne's face as Anne says, "Come on, guys, focus. If you make one little mistake, we can end up in Calaboose, or go up to the Green River, but that's not going to happen. Because why?" Lane immediately responds, "Because Guano and I are the fucking best motherfuckers?" Anne looks at him with confusion written all over his face, but says, "That's right. Because you guys are the best in what you do. Lane, who's the one who climbed up your school's rooftop?" Lane looks at him with confusion and replies, Me?" Anne says with enthusiasm, trying to lift their spirits. "That's right. You told me that. You also said your parkour skill can really do some damage. Heck, you could probably join the military, or join in some martial art class, or be in the Olympics," Anne says and lowers his voice to mutter, "or be a clown in the circus." Lane looks at Anne as he says, "Yeah, but I fucking fell and broke my fucking legs and got fucking expelled for it." Anne says, "Yeah, but you told me you were drunk, so the liquor softens the fall. And besides, you said that you're too smart for school." Lane shrugs and says, "Yeah, I did fucking say that, man. And fuck school." Anne nods and says, "Exactly." Lane looks at Anne as he says, "Damn, Anne! You're pretty fucking smart, but not as fucking smart as me, motherfucker." Anne raises his hands in surrender and, with a smirk on his face, responds, "Yeah, I'm not." Anne, Lane, and Guano are waiting at the crosswalk. There's a guy in front of them who's twitching out. His eyes are bloodshot red and foam slowly started coming out of his mouth. Anne mutters, "And Guano, because of you, you memorized the combination." Anne taps Guano on his shoulder before continuing, "No person I know can do that." "Yeah, but they saw me," says Guano, while shaking his head. Anne looks at Guano and says in a reassuring manner, "That's why you two are wearing masks. Trust me, Guano, okay? It's not going to be the time you told me that you were caught stealing luggage from the airport. Sure, you said you were sent to prison for a couple of years and got cornholed, but that's not going to happen as long we follow the plan." Anne, Lane, and Guano are walking across the street. The guy who is twitching out is now on his knees and shaking his head rapidly. Anne, Lane, and Guano manage to cross the street and are now walking on the other side. So I'm going to explain to you guys the plan. 1. More time, Anne says, enunciating every word. Before Anne can start with telling the plan again, Lane shouts, "Jesus fucking Christ, Anne! We're not fucking babies, you know." Anne looks flustered. "I didn't say that. All I'm saying is to remind us, yes, me too. Because I forget things too. Remember, I told you guys I didn't hand over my school books. Lane ends up laughing at that memory as he says, "Yeah, you were pretty fucking stupid when you told us that." Guano adds his 2 cents. "Yeah, you have to pay a lot of money for it." Lane pipes in again, still laughing. "Oh yeah. Fucking idiot." Guano chuckles as well. Moron. Anne raises his hands in surrender and tries to gain their attention again. Okay, stupid me. Now can I explain? You fine, gentlemen. One more time, what's the plan again? Lane looks happy as he responds. Whatever you say, retard. Replay the beat, motherfucker. Anne starts from the start. All right then. All we have to do is